fortnightly basis. That's brilliant. So now we move on to item number 6, which is the Burwood Pegasus Community Board meeting or meetings, I think. Item number 6 and item number 7. We'll deal with them jointly and welcome Andrea Cummings, the chair of the the Burwood Pegasus Community Board to the table.
I'm not the only one getting it wrong.
Yeah, so over to you.
Cool, thank you. Just want to present the reports from Monday the 19th of November and the 9th of December. There was nothing particularly untoward in them. Happy for them to be presented.
Are there any questions that people have? I think these are all items now. I presume David East would like to move the motion that the 2 reports, can we deal with them both together? That the 2 reports be received. And who would like to second that motion? Phil Clearwater. Yep.
Who is the Aranui Community Leadership Group? I know you've got actors, and I know
the Aranui Community Leadership Group is the school's the school proposal with the Ministry of Education. It's facilitated by Chris Mene, and I think there's about 6 people chosen from the community to do the consultation around what the management structure of the new school will look like.
About the new school.
It's all about the new school. It's
sort of like this emerging thing that all these groups have these names that don't really reflect what they are, which I think leads to a lot of confusion. Like, if people looked at that, you'd have no idea, apart from the word campus, that it had anything to do with the schools. And I know we've got other different planning processes, etc. Do you have any idea when they're likely to come up with a decision?
The group have already reported back to Heke Parata, and so that group is essentially becoming defunct. I think they are still going to sort of linger as an official group, but their formal role has ended.
Okay, so maybe if we could get some information about, I think it would be really useful to understand.
We actually met with the Minister last Friday, and she mentioned that the report had been given over. I mean, I agree with you that it could have been more usefully called the Aranui Community Education Leadership Group, but it was established for the purposes of leading a community consultation, right. and it's been the best process that I've seen so far in any of the education decisions that have been made. So it's to be congratulated, and I know all of the community groups were engaged in it. I've been on the email list. They've used email, they've used social media, they've used public meetings, they've used focus groups. It's been a really broad based, and I believe that they've really captured the essence of what the community's looking for. It's great. Well, I presume that they've reported to their minister. They were established by the minister to report to her, but she's very open to engaging with us. It was a great meeting on Friday.
No, we didn't. Tim Baker and I both applied to go on the group, but obviously there was political will that we weren't on the group, so there wasn't.
In the lead up to the group getting going, they did consult with a wider group of the community, and I was involved in an early stage of their grouping, but then they condensed down to doing their own work.
I teamed up with them sort of unofficially because Avondale School were very alienated by the process, and they were having a lot of trouble engaging with that community. They were having meetings and one parent was turning up. So I sort of worked alongside them to try and facilitate greater engagement. And so I guess in a way I had a fair amount of input into that on behalf of the Avondale community anyway.
Yeah, I mean it hasn't been an easy process.
No.
Because one school kind of sits outside the Aranui area, and I think in many respects that the flaw going into the process has been how people ended up in that process. So,
that's right.
But be that as it may, it still sits as the best example of what you can do with a community in that situation.
I went to the feedback meeting that they gave, so for Councillor Johansson I can probably get a copy of that sort of feedback
Yeah.
session.
That would be great.
And the slides and things that were presented. It may not be the exact wording that went to the minister, but it's the gist of what came out of the consultation.
Vicky Buck?
Yep.
Just marginally related. One of the things that we're just waiting for a 2-page report on all that we know about the current schools. And then what we intend to do is have a meeting with the Ministry of Education so that they can tell us exactly what they're intending is happening to every school space. Because as you know, and every other community board member knows, there is huge demand for community groups who could possibly be housed in the next year or so on school space. And we actually don't yet know, as councillors, what's happening on every school space. So that will be happening quite soon.
Yes, it's very, very frustrating for the whole community not knowing in any decision-making processes. It's impacting on in a large way. Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions? I'll put the motion. Now we've got 2 meetings, haven't we?
Yes.
So that needs to also include the meeting of the
18th of November.
18th of November. Yep.
The central New Brighton pool, or are you talking about the North New Brighton one that's currently being used as the dollar pool? The central New Brighton one. I believe that Renew Brighton are in consultation with the ministry to get a lease to continue its availability, but it hasn't been signed off.
Yeah, and they have been working with other community groups, sports groups, and particularly the Surf Lifesaving around that proposal. So
yeah, it's not finalised.
But they've made a
it's
deputation to the community board to that effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the North New Brighton, which is quite a good school pool, is still open and is used for school and community use?
yes, it is. Over the summer, they trialled a dollar thing. We used it, and it's remaining open. It's open after schools and in the weekends as well for public use.
Very good.
Very good.
Right, I'll put. Very good.
North New Brighton School is open till the 28th of February, outside of school hours for the public usage, and then it closes for the... Pardon?
Yeah, it's not a heated pool. It's very cold.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put the motion that the 2 reports be received. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move.